Today's Wednesday, December 3, 2014, the 337th day of the year. There are 28 days remaining until the end of 2014. On this day in 1818, Illinois becomes the 21st U.S. state. Illinois' little-known Midwestern urban industrial agricultural center, populated for going on 7,000 years by succession of tribal cultures, peaking long before there, but for fortune European happenstance, upon these shores. Cahokia, prosperous, thriving, mound culture center of the world with a plaza larger than 35 football fields for perspective before there even was an NFL. For communal feng shui breathing space at its core. Monk's Mound, larger at its base than the Great Pyramid at Giza. Largest earthworks north of Mesoamerica, built by Mississippians toward the end of the first millennium of the Christian era. Cahokians, from top-of-the-world apex alpha positioning, great art, metalwork, feathers, great culture, dancing, culinary mobility. Lost serious mojo by the end of the 14th century. French missionaries found tribes and small bands, the Linnewack, from whom they derived the modern name Illinois. The Frenchies dug it, the bad among the good, tried to hold it. Rival tribes scattered the weakened Linnewack, crucially mojo deficient under Trappist brothers. Kidnapped their most nubile women for breeding stock. In 1831, T. Amos Hill buys the plot, The Cahokian Soul, containing the mound, also known as the Great Knob. Built his house up there, sank a well, found layer upon layer of human bones. Bones upon bones. On this day in 1904, the Jovian moon, Himalia, discovered by Charles Dillon Perrine at California's Lick Observatory. Jupiter, Roman equivalent of the Greek god Zeus, king of the gods, god of the sky, god of thunder, god of lightning, member of the archaic triad, consisting of himself. Mars, god of war. Quirinius, god of the Roman state. We don't have one of these, but if it weren't for his chronic dental problems, doubtless made worse by his marijuana habit, George Washington might have been the American equivalent. Jupiter, also member of the later Capitoline triad. Himself, again, his wife, Juno, goddess of marriage and childbirth, and Minerva, goddess of wisdom, music, poetry, medicine, wisdom, commerce, weaving crafts, magic. Also sponsor of arts, trade, strategy. Planet Jupiter has 67 known moons, each named for Jupiter's lovers, daughters, girlfriends, hookups. The moon, Himalia, named for the nymph who bears Zeus 3 sons. Nymphs, beautiful young maidens who sing and dance, worshipped as minor deities by the Greeks, Latins. They're not quite goddesses, more animating spirits, sprites who live in mountains, or groves who never grow old and are in possession of a boundless sex drive, especially for weak-minded human males, a redundancy, whom they never tired of sucking dry and rendering senseless. We don't got these no more full-on nymphs. Russian emigre Vladimir Nabokov, in his book Lolita, coined the term nymphette to describe a sexually active underage woman. Not at all the same thing. Water nymphs are called naiads, found in or around streams, brooks, wells, office water coolers, any such body of fresh water, and are to be avoided at great risk to one's marital happiness, never mind their soul-sucking aspect. Diana Naiad, born Diana Sneed, who makes 5 attempts to swim from Cuba to Florida and succeeds on September 2, 2013, when she's 65 years old, coming ashore at Key West, is half goddess, half water spirit. Her great-great-grandmother, according to a profile in the New Yorker magazine published in February, is Charlotte N. Winslow, the inventor of Mrs. Winslow's Soothing Syrup, a popular morphine-based medicine for teething children. That is manufactured from 1849 until, despite its addictive and toxic qualities, the 1930s, by which time the family's future well secured. On this day in 1927, Putting Pants on Philip, the first Laurel and Hardy film, is released. Oliver Babe Hardy plays small-town Babbitt-type booster Piedmont Mumble Thunder, whose nephew Philip, upon whom pants must be put, played by Stan Laurel, has arrived from Scotland, attired in Highland kilt and broad tam o' shanter. The source of much of Stan Laurel's screen comedy evolves from the innocence of his manner, exaggerated by overtones of idiocy. In this 19-minute silent movie shot on Main Street in downtown Culver City, California, between Culver Boulevard and Venice Boulevard, there are many broad jokes about the kilt, also about the difficulty Ollie cannot quite overcome in attempting to manage Stanley's satyriasis, manifested whenever he eyes bit player the curvaceous Dorothy Coburn, the original long cool woman in a black dress, although because the movie shot in black and white, the dress could be bright red. We don't know. It registers as black. Dorothy Coburn, the girl Stan Laurel chases but can never catch in this picture, born June 8, 1904 in Great Falls, Montana, raised in Prescott, Arizona, daughter of cowboy poet and Western film producer Wallace Coburn. She's, 197 1978. Take away 1904. 23. She's 23. I knew that. Between 1927 and 1930, she works in 16 classic short films with Laurel Hardy and Our Gang Shorts for Hal Roach Studios. Known for her aplomb in taking and delivering a custard pie to the face or taking a hard pratfall, a good sport, a fit athlete. Later in the 1930s, she's a horseback stunt woman in westerns with Gary Cooper and Joel McRae, a stand-in for dancing star Ginger Rogers. Dorothy Coburn retires from the picture business in 1936. She marries, goes to work as a receptionist at a Los Angeles insurance agency. Marries a second time. Dies May 15, 1978. She's 74 years old. Born this day in 1766, Barbara Fritchie in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. When she's 95 years old, widowed, living in Frederick, Maryland, geriatric by any standard, during the American Civil War as Confederate General Thomas Jonathan Stonewall Jackson, also known as Old Jack, Old Blue Light, Tom Fool, and his troops marched through Frederick on their way to destiny at the Battle of Antietam. In September 1862, Barbara Fritchie stands in the road as the Confederate troops march by, waving a Union banner, you know it as the American flag, to show her contempt for the Southerners as well as her love for the red, the white, and the blue. Moving John Greenleaf Whittier, a popular New England poet, member in good standing of the so-called Fireside Poets, 2 years after the storied event in 1864, to write, "Shoot, if you must, this old gray head, but spare your country's flag," she said. A shade of sadness, a blush of shame, over the face of the leader came. The nobler nature within him stirred to life at that woman's deed and word. Who touches a hair on yon gray head dies like a dog. March on, he said. From Rutland, Vermont, this is Richard Alcott speaking.